Appreciate everybody hopping on. That's great. That's great. I think this might be the first time we've kind of had a full house in a little while. So perhaps a snowstorm helps. I don't know, but we really appreciate everybody being here. That is great. Marcia, are you going to do our statement of necessity?
I think Brian Hicks is going to take care of that for us.
Brian, you going to do it for us? Perfect. Thank you.
Let me pull myself off of mute here. And pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated 844-108, a statement of necessity will be needed to determine if an electronic meeting was necessary. Necessity means that the matters to be considered by the governing body at the meeting require timely action by the body, that physical presence by a quorum of the members is not practical within the period of time requiring action, and that participation by a quorum of the members by electronic or other means of communication is necessary. There is a need for timely action today to fulfill the goals and requirements of the Executive Committee of the Tennessee Commission on Aging and Disability. Meeting in person is not an option today, January 22nd, 2024, due to members being physically located across the state with limited schedule of availability and the need to discuss and set the agenda for the full Tennessee Commission on Aging and Disability meeting taking place on February 13th, 2024.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. And we need a motion to adopt that. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So
okay.
We need a motion and a second, and they'll have to be taken via, all votes will have to be via roll call with this being an electronic meeting.
Great. Do you want to just do that as the roll call for the meeting as well, or do you want to do a roll call before we take a vote?
Let's do a roll call to establish members present, and then we will do a roll call to vote.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Kara Westlake.
Present.
Mike Willis.
Present.
Tracy Moore.
Present.
Christy Wick.
Present.
Right, all members are accounted for, are present and accounted for.
Thank you. So members, I would entertain a motion to adopt the statement of necessity.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Tracy. Okay, all those in favor of adopting the statement of necessity, please say aye.
Nope, we gotta do a roll call. We gotta do it by.
It has to be a roll call. That's right. I'm so sorry. You said that, and I just kind of barreled ahead.
No,
if you would do a roll call, please.
It keeps me on my toes. Kara Westlake.
Aye.
Mike Willis.
Aye.
Tracy Moore.
Yes.
And Christy Wick.
Aye.
You have 4 votes. The motion carries.
The motion is adopted. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for keeping me straight, Ryan. I just, here we go. Every meeting's a little different, but we're okay. Okay, that business having been put aside, our first order of business for this our next order of business, I guess I should say, for the meeting is approval of the committee minutes from our previous executive committee. Shannon sent those out a little bit earlier. I hope people have had a chance to review them. Were there any additions or corrections to be noted? I appreciate the head shake, Christy. Okay, those are the minutes of the October 23rd quarterly meeting of the Executive Committee. If there are no additions or corrections, may I have a motion to adopt the minutes?
Move to adopt the minutes from October 23rd, 2023.
Thank you, Tracy. Is there a second?
I'll second. Christy.
Thank you, Christy. Appreciate that. This time, everybody in favor, say aye, please.
No.
Roll call. Roll call every time.
Every vote, every time.
Because we're remote. Got it.
Because we are remote by statute, every vote has to be done via roll call.
I'm going to get with the program.
Again, this keeps me paying attention, keeps me on my toes. I mean, I feel like eventually you're going to be testing me. So I appreciate it.
That'll be my story. Yeah.
All right. So Kara Westlake.
Yes.
Michael Willis.
Yes.
Tracy Moore.
Yes.
Christy Wick.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Right. That takes care of that piece of business. I appreciate it. Whoops, I just lost my agenda, but I'm going to pull it back up. Multiple screens, you know how this is. Appreciate that. So I don't have a lot of comments for this particular meeting, although I am looking forward to having some discussion about the upcoming meeting. What might be useful are some introductions, because we have at least one new person with us, right? So Lauren, do you mind introducing yourself to the executive committee?
I was gonna say, I don't know if she's talking about me or not, but I hope so. Yes, my name's Lauren Legate Carroll. We met briefly in at the DIDD offices, but I am chief of staff for DIDD, and I'm here in Commissioner Turner's stead today. So glad to be with you all.
Great, great. So I'm going to ask our committee members to introduce themselves as well. Christy, do you mind introducing yourself and your role on the commission?
I don't. I'm Christy Wick. I am from the Southeast Tennessee region, and I serve as legislative chair and commission member.
Thank you. Tracy?
I'm Tracy Moore. I am the South Central Tennessee representative from Columbia, Tennessee. I'm on the legislative committee, and I'm on the executive committee.
Great, thank you. And Mike?
I'm Mike Willis. I'm the representative from the 1st Tennessee district, so I'm way out there, way out there. And this is my first time actually having something computer-wise that works. So like I said, I moved up into the 21st century, and I'm on the executive committee and the legislative. No, it's not legislative. It's strategic committee.
I think you're on the strategic planning committee. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. So really delighted to have all of you guys here.
Great to see you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so our main form of business generally is to propose an agenda for our February meeting. And I will refer you again to sort of the draft that Shannon sent out for us. Hopefully you have that in front of you. One of the things that I wanted to talk about at this meeting, and I think we discussed it at the November commission meeting, was thinking about ways that we might adjust our quarterly commission meetings to make them more useful and meaty for our commission members. I mean, we've done a few things over the last couple of years, including member spotlights, and we'll talk about that. And sort of beefing up our public comment period, which I really appreciate. But I think that one of the things that all of our commission members have sort of expressed in one way or another is that there isn't much time for real discussion and to really delve into some of the issues that are facing seniors and people with disabilities that come out of, for example, the public comment that happens. So I really want to have some of that conversation today. One of the things that we talked about at the meeting in November and that Christy volunteered to work on was maybe developing some kind of a little survey for our commission members and others probably to kind of get their input on how the meetings might be more efficient and effective. And so Christy has begun that process. Thank you so much, Christy, for working on that. But as we kind of go through the meeting today, the agenda, I'd like to kind of keep that in mind and think about how we might begin to move forward on some of that. So with that said, you can see the committee agenda in front of you. Generally starting with lunch, as we do, the call to order, which is pretty much standard kinds of things. Lauren, is Commissioner Turner going to be able to join us on the 13th?
Yep.
Great. That will be terrific. So that'll be a good and new introduction to the commissioner for those of you who have not met him before. I think probably, the big thing in the room, right, is this sort of legislation, which presumably we will have seen by February 13th. Any idea, guys, when that's going to drop? Lauren, do you know?
I think last week delayed things a bit at the Capitol, but we're told it's imminent. So could be this week, could be next.
Great. So when I was talking to some legislators week before the snow, they were like, it's not quite finished drafting yet. And I'm like, hey, you know, we're all very anxious. So hopefully that is some of what Commissioner Turner might want to address. At the November meeting, you know, Chrissy came from the governor's office, Chrissy and Alec actually, and talked a little bit about that. I don't know whether we want to ask to put Chrissy back on the agenda just to kind of do a little follow-up. I think she's helped with drafting. She might have something to share. Don't know what your thoughts are about that. Which is your opening to tell me.
That sounds fine to me, Carol.
Okay. I can certainly ask her because I understand that the bill is over 100 pages long at this point. So I think that getting some summary and some information will probably be helpful. And I know a lot of that is that move of DIDD stuff out of Title 33, but I think that the aging stuff and aging and disability stuff is going to be important to folks. This particular agenda just has Shelley giving us program updates in general. I mean, I think one of the things that has happened in the past, you know, is that individual TCAD members report on different programs, but that often eats up a lot of the meeting. One of the things that a number of folks had talked about was getting some of those reports, if indeed we needed individual program reports, getting those ahead of time, and then just having a time that people could ask questions if they had sort of reviewed those and thought about things. Shannon, is that one of the reasons why we sort of have just a Shelley piece on here? I don't. Yeah, has there been discussion about the report?
I haven't really been involved in the discussion. So if somebody else wants to pick that up, that would be great.
Yeah, if this is Marcy, I'd be happy to speak to that. So it is, Carol, consistent with the length of time that it was taking for all the program updates. And we had, you know, received some feedback that it might be nice to streamline that. So this is a good way to give that a shot and see how it works for everyone.
Yay, thank you. Thank you. Christy approves. We're good. Thank you. Thank you, Christy. Okay. I will say, so Shannon has been scheduling committee meetings for the Community Living Committee and the Strategic Planning Committee. We are still challenged by an audit committee. So I think everyone I have individually asked to serve on the audit committee has turned me down. But that is something that we really need to do. Because that is the one committee that is in the bylaws for the commission, right? And there is a new audit person. Is that right, guys? At TCAD? I see
Yes,
heads
Carol.
nodding.
Mackenzie
Yay.
Baker.
Yay.
Mackenzie Ryan, excuse me.
I wonder if we might, and we could just ask Shelley to do this, introduce her, the new audit person, and maybe she can market the auditing committee. I'm trying to work out things here. Or that would give me an in to try to get some folks on the audit committee. But I think an audit committee report can come off the committee reports. Christy, would you like a legislative committee report?
I think so. If Mason's okay with that, I think we talked about going ahead and hosting a meeting this time around. We've missed the last two. And if we could at minimum just kind of review any bills that are out there this session that we're watching, that would be nice. If y'all are okay with that.
Yeah.
And I feel like if the representatives for the transition are going to be talking in the main commission, I'm not sure we need to do it in the legislative committee also, unless there's just a reason somebody knows of to do that. But we're happy to have any guests if anyone needs to come or wants to come.
So I had talked to Commissioner Turner about joining the legislative committee Tuesday morning. and potentially inviting any other commission members who wanted to just sort of have a more informal conversation. And I understand that he's going to be in Murfreesboro in the morning. So, Lauren, I don't know how you feel about maybe just dropping into our legislative committee meeting on Tuesday morning.
Tomorrow, or is it the Tuesday before the meeting? I'm sorry.
Tuesday before the meeting. Yeah.
Check.
The morning of the meeting.
The morning of the meeting.
Yes.
The morning of the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that should be, I should be able to do that. I was curious about those subcommittees, kind of if that was open or.
They are open.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
But if you would join Christy at the legislative committee, I think that would be great. And we can let folks know that if there are any commission members who are not on community living or strategic planning who would like to join that, I think that would be great. Because I think the more, kind of talk we can have about that, the better off we are. So I think that really works. And that would bring us to new business, most of the new business being this potential transition, right? And other kinds of things. Are there other items? I wonder if this is an opportunity, since we're going to have a little more time. Thank you, Marcia, for your scheduling, to consider getting some additional information about one or more of the issues that keeps coming up for us at the commission meetings. Christy, I know you had mentioned possibly the multi-sector plan on aging, because there are some folks who probably are not familiar with that effort and need to be. The other thing is to take a look at some issues around housing. I think that just about every commission meeting, we hear from Kim or someone or more than one person about the really important issues around housing and affordable housing. And so I wonder if getting some real information about the issue and about the sort of the status in the state would give us some time for discussion about potential solutions or other kinds of things. Thoughts about that? Or some other topic?
Well, just as the newcomer, we've made a few visits so far, and of course, housing's been a huge topic. I don't know if you all have had this before, then forgive me, but kind of to your point, Carol, someone that would kind of paint the picture, how dire is this situation? Just there's any data around that, or I don't know if you guys have had that before, but I know that we've heard a lot about it anecdotally, but not so much just kind of by the numbers. Is it the metro areas? Is it the rural areas? It's probably all of them, because that's what we've seen a little bit. So
yeah.
But I think that's a great idea.
But I think doing some level setting. Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, going on with the housing problem, I know in my area we've been experiencing homelessness. Homelessness is just literally just going through the roof, so to speak. I mean, that's a major issue we're dealing with in my area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that may be useful, because we kind of know we hear about it being a problem. I think that sort of level setting with everybody to kind of get those information and potentially to talk about some of the things that might be possible to help with solutions, just to get people thinking. So we can maybe work.
Does anyone have any ideas of who that might be, or what segment that might be from?
Go ahead, Carol.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we don't have specific funding for housing, so we're not going to have a lot of that data. But there obviously are other agencies. There's the Tennessee Housing Development Agency. Kim may be a good resource. I know she tracks that data pretty closely. Again, just throwing those out there for you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I do know that I can ask to see about how expansive their work has been, but the folks at Metro Social Services, William Bissett, has done a whole piece on housing issues as well. The other potential might be AgeWell Tennessee, the Tennessee Coalition for Better Aging. There might be a representative from there.
And I think just to say it out loud, we're really focusing on our homes in the community, probably a bridge to or from homelessness, because we're seeing a lot of people who can't afford housing become homeless. But we're not going to necessarily speak about facilities or anything like that, right?
I don't think correct. I think
Okay.
that what we hear about is people who want to age in place
Yep.
and might be priced out of their own homes, right? Either by rent or mortgage and or taxes or repairs needed. Folks who are risking homelessness, yes, because they don't have other kinds of things. So, but
Okay.
not necessarily looking at assisted living and nursing facilities at this point, right? I think it's that more community-based. So, okay, I think that is probably a good thing to do. And maybe that comes, and maybe that's not really, I don't know if that's new business per se. Maybe that's, something that we can do after committees and before our new business. I would like to continue our tradition of doing member spotlights until we get everybody spotlighted. And Mike, I note that you have not been spotlighted yet.
Uh-oh, I'm under the bright lights again.
So if you wouldn't mind being our community spotlight for the February meeting, and just kind of talking about your community, why you're represented here, your interests and work and concerns about, aging and disability, that would be terrific. Are you willing to do that for us?
I'm willing to do it.
Fabulous, fabulous. You're one of the people on the commission who I, keep saying to people has aged into being on the commission, right? That's my
Yes.
thing. So here we are. All good. And then I think from the state perspective, I'm not sure, I don't think Adam Morgan has yet given us a little TennCare presentation. So does that make sense to folks? I think he might be the last state agency person. Shannon, you might have to help me, but I think that might. I love putting TennCare last instead of first, where they usually are. No, just teasing. Adam would appreciate that. I'm just saying.
I don't recall if Sally has spoken.
Oh, she might not have.
That's the only one I can.
Well, and Commissioner Alvarado has a lot going on in aging. Should we have Sally and then Adam maybe in the summer?
You could ask Commissioner Alvarado. I love hearing him speak. I like
Actually,
hearing Sally speak too, both of them. I mean, guys, but either one I think would be good at some point.
Okay. Well, I can certainly ask Sally and then ask her if she wants to bring her commissioner. Be happy to have him. Does that work for folks?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other things that we think need to be a part of this agenda? Then if you don't mind, I would like to spend a few minutes just on other business, which I put on our agenda for this meeting. One was the legislative proposal to move TCAD, and just kind of, I think I was hoping that the bill would be out and there would be something to kind of review, but there's not. So I think that if it is by February 13th, and Lauren, if you and the commissioner are, and Chrissy Freeland are ready to kind of talk to us about it, I think that's probably the best we can do. Other thoughts? Is there any update from anyone relative to that?
I think we're just, after we get it, they get it filed, we'll kind of see how quickly it gets picked up. And then you mentioned the length of it. It is the largest piece of legislation ever filed by this administration. I think it's over 150. So
Oh, my
it's,
word.
it's a big one. Be careful what you ask for. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I
It's a
know,
big
yeah.
one, but yeah, but hopefully I do think this week kind of slowed things down. And then hopefully, I think definitely by the time we meet, we'll,
Yeah.
hoping will have dropped.
Okay.
Yeah. And Mason, what is the bill filing deadline?
For the House, it's the 30th of January, and for the Senate, it's the 1st of February.
But the governor gets to do whatever he pleases, right?
No. The majority leader set the bill filing deadline, so
Yeah, he's got to have it in.
they've all got to be filed by then.
Oh, I thought the governor was allowed to put things in after the state of the state. Show you what I know. Cool deal. Then we're getting close. Thank you. So, developing a survey for commission members and others. Really interested in kind of people's thoughts about, you've kind of heard the discussions in commission meetings about wanting to be able to kind of handle things differently and making sure that the meetings are meaningful and that people have the opportunity to have enough information to have discussion and have meaningful input and recommendations. I'm trying to think about ways that we can ask people those questions for their ideas about how they think meetings should run. Is one of my thoughts. Christy kind of put some things together and said, are there specific questions you have for leadership, for example, and which is great, which would help us drive the meeting. Thoughts?
So I think that if it's okay, Carol, I'll go ahead and share just this. So a couple questions are going to come to mind, and they did with me as I was kind of putting this together, is kind of who's going to manage this, who's going to answer, who's going to, like, are we sure we want to solicit this information? But I think overall, I sort of misunderstood the task. So this is really just an exercise in trying to kind of get something together.
Mm-hmm.
I put this in Qualtrics, which we could use any type of format, but the bottom line is we have the ability to make an anonymous link to garner responses, as I'm sure everybody's done before that's on this call. So we can do it anonymously, and then if people want some sort of personal response, they have the option of putting in their information. But as I was thinking about it and what we would want to know as someone asks a question or gives feedback, is really what their role is. And so without knowing exactly who this was going to, I just kind of put a bunch of different roles in here, made them a check all that apply, because several of us have multiple different roles. Probably all of us have multiple different roles.
Yeah.
But the results too could be linked so that whomever needs access to those can get them. So that's not an issue either. But really all I had put in here was just an example of, I have a question for, and maybe instead of names, this is the TCAD Executive Committee, or,
Mm-hmm.
An attorney or whatever.
Yeah.
But then a free text, and then the questions are there for if someone wants a personal response and wants to identify themselves. So as all surveys go, you guys know we can do this however you want, but I just felt like we needed more conversation about exactly what we were trying to collect and who was going to manage it.
So just sort of based on commission member and, community member comments, I will say, one of the things that I hear a lot is that we need a way to make the committees more effective, right? So meeting for an hour right before a quarterly meeting, meeting once a quarter for an hour before the TCAD meeting, it doesn't really give committees time to develop work recommendations, one thing and another. On the other hand, hard to get everybody together, right? Because it needs to be a public meeting, and sort of there you are. So do folks have ideas about how to make the committee structure more effective, or do we need those committees, right? I mean, is there some other way that we should be working? You know, I mean, I think especially as, and one idea is also to sort of pull some of the key directives out of the statute, which Chrissy says are still going to be there because they're just going to be lifted and put over into 52. In saying, so this is kind of a responsibility of the commission. Any good ideas about how we do this well as volunteer commission members, right? Look, some of us are volunteers, some of the state folks probably have to be there, but just sort of thinking about people's experience and ideas about making the committees work better, the meeting working better. We could potentially also sort of poll folks about the most important issues facing, right? I mean, we just talked about doing something for housing for the next meeting, because I think we all agree, and thank you, Lauren, for confirming that. You hear about it when you go out, right? I mean, that's really this huge issue. But are there other particular issues that folks would like some information and discussion about? You know, we have talked periodically about offering topical webinars between commission meetings so that people are kind of level set if they're going to talk about a particular issue that's facing the aging and disability community. I'm just kind of randomly talking here, but does any of that spark anything for folks?
So I think it's useful to get the information. However, with the transition taking place, I'm not sure how much of it would be used or implemented. And I guess that would be my question is, if we get good feedback, is that even something that would be considered? And given the timeline and the legislation, I'm not, I just don't know how all that works.
Yeah.
So I certainly think it's important. I think it's important to focus on topics, but without knowing what our responsibilities are going to be, I also think it makes it difficult to listen to the feedback, I guess.
I hear you. I mean, my understanding from the governor's office is that the responsibilities are going to be about the same. Does anybody else have any sense that that's different? In my discussions with Commissioner Turner, he is really interested in how to make sure that the commission is effective and, meaningful for folks and useful to the new department. And so part of my thought is that like getting some feedback and kind of hearing where people are might be useful to the commissioner, frankly, as we begin to move things forward and make that transition. It might not happen right away, but it is additional data from the community and other departments that might be helpful. I might not be right, but that's kind of my sense.
So does that look like then just a polling basically for the different segments of the commission meetings and then potentially issues of interest? Do you think that captures what we're after?
I don't know. Tracy, your thoughts?
The only thought that I have is that I think it would be very important for Commissioner Turner or his designee to communicate to the commission that that they would be receptive to a more proactive commission, more receptive to input. Because I've kind of gotten the impression before that the few times that the commission acted and did try to be proactive, it wasn't received particularly well. So if Commissioner Turner is interested in a more proactive and commission to hear ideas and to that sort of thing, then I think it's important that we hear that. And then if I'm told, we're really interested in hearing more from the commission and your ideas and your thoughts and your, how you think we can move things forward, then that's going to motivate me to get down to the nuts and bolts of, okay, how are we going to get that done?
Thank you. Thank you. Mike?
I'm not, okay, this gentleman is just taking over, correct? Is he just taking over, and how is he familiar with the work that we do? So that's my question.
So I think that the commissioner is somewhat familiar with the work of TCAD, absolutely, of the TCAD staff and the Older Americans Act programs, as well as the commission itself. I will tell you that the commissioner currently operates statewide policy and planning councils for intellectual and developmental disabilities. So he is well versed in a body that has responsibility for advising and helping and making recommendations. I mean, I think, so my personal experience with him is that he is very open to that kind of support and input. And I would, remind all of us that the statute says that's our job, by the way, which is why I think there are some folks who have expressed, and some of our newer members who have expressed some frustration, like, why do I drive in for this if it's just to listen to people give reports, right? I mean, is there something, I thought you wanted me to offer something besides, simply listening. So, and Lauren, you work for the commissioner,
Well, and I think it's so important. I'm very excited for you all to hear from him at the meeting. He's very excited about it. And I think I'll of course make sure that he knows to touch on this stuff, but these are all things that he wants to touch on. We absolutely want it to be a two-way street. Carol, you brought up a great point. We operate, including our regional councils, about half a dozen councils, and they're collaborative. They're very meaningful to us because they're the boots on the ground. They are the people that we know the issues, but they can tell us in real time what's happening, and more importantly, kind of what they need. And I think, and Carol, you met with him about this very topic, but that's absolutely what he wants. We don't want to come in and change things right away or have, crazy demands on the committee, but we want to learn from you all. We want this to be kind of a collaborative effort, definitely. So I think we're kind of in the information gathering stage right now. But that is absolutely the goal. We're gonna have quite a few people there in February. I was at the November meeting, so it was great for me to see how you all operate, and I learned a lot. And in February, obviously, Commissioner will be there, I will be there, but we'll have some of our communications team and the people that work with these councils statewide, just so they can kind of know, because every council is unique, just like every council's charge is unique. We don't want them all operating the same, but we do want to see how we can improve things and improve ideas for us to hear from you all. So absolutely.
Does it make sense to shift the question back to Lauren and Commissioner Turner and see what type information they would like to have, and so that we have that input going forward,
Sure,
rather than just trying to
I think that's a good idea, because I think it's a good idea because I don't want us to go like that. We want to make sure that we're all working off the same sheet of music.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Good. Well, then we'll sort of, keep all this stuff in mind, be prepared to sort of talk about those things at the meeting on the 13th. And then this committee can kind of take a look at how we begin to organize those things, maybe work with Lauren or others to work on that, to get something together.
And
I appreciate that.
I want to be respectful of the agenda moving, but after a commissioner does kind of introduce himself and talk about, the future, where things are going, if there is time, just if you guys, just for a discussion, I mean, we would love just to talk, just to hear from people and if time allows, if not, I know we can look at other avenues, but I think
and actually, I mean, there should be time in the agenda for that. So, I mean, if we go back to the agenda for the meeting, why don't we? I mean, there's a couple ways we could do this. I'm back looking at the agenda. We could just open up some discussion and for questions, et cetera, after the commissioner does his thing and introduces us. We've only given him 10 minutes. And Lauren, as you point out, if you've got a lot of folks there, it'd probably be good to introduce folks who are currently at DIDD that many of these members are not going to know, just to kind of get a sense of that. We know our TCAD staff pretty well, but not the others. So maybe we want to push. Do we want to give ourselves a half an hour for the commissioner and then informal discussion?
I was thinking that it might look a little like we did last time, where there was a presentation and then we had some open time for discussion and then also some public comment, which it's neither here nor there, but I thought it went well last time, last meeting with how that was structured in November.
Okay, so why don't we think about, yes. I think having the public comment a little bit earlier also gave us, you're not like, hi, thanks for that, we're leaving now. Gives time to ruminate a little bit. So commissioner's comments, maybe introduction to his staff, whatever, he wants to do. Do some open discussion with the commission first, followed by public comment, or public comment and then discussion?
I'm okay with that unless there's reason not to. Whatever y'all think.
Mike, you almost said something.
I would go with the commissioner first, then the public afterwards.
Okay.
Just so everybody is familiar with them, just familiarity.
Yeah, because then really the program updates and committee reports are more businessy for TCAD itself, but we will have. I mean, the big issue is the legislation, the transition, that sort of thing. So we will we'll add some discussion time and move public comment period up after that and before the program update. Right?
Sounds good.
Okay. Cool deal. Then the only other thing I had on the agenda for today's meeting was sort of the committee structure thing, but it sounds like that's a little premature as well, since we're kind of in this transition, that might be a part of what we kind of survey on or have discussion about after the transition begins to take place, right? That's what I'm hearing from you all. Okay.
Sounds good.
Cool deal. Okay. Any other business to come before this meeting? Yay. 4:15, 5:15 for you, Mike. We're doing okay. Appreciate all of the TCAD staff being on with us. Really, thank you guys. It is good. And Lauren, thanks for being with us.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that too. If there is no further business, I will accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved. I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you. And we need a roll call vote. I caught it this time.
I was waiting for it. All right. Chairman Westlake.
Aye.
Tracy Moore.
Aye.
Christy Wick,
Aye.
Mike Willis.
Aye.
Okay. I generally say everyone can just vote with their feet, but apparently you can't do that when you're on a remote call. So anyway, appreciate all of you. Looking forward to seeing folks on the 13th. And here we go.
Thanks,
So
everyone.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.